This is a Pristine action. This video has so many twists and turns in the process to get to where I am right now, which is recording the review, that this is probably going to be a bit longer of a video than usual. So this video is going to be broken up into two main parts. One is going to be all of the issues that I had with this. Number two is going to be the review of what the product actually is. Now, before I go any further, I will be talking about a lot of issues with this. However, the actual product itself, for what it is in its very specific applications, is excellent. But in order to get to the excellence, we have to talk about the problems. So, where to start? Well, let's start with their website. On the Pristine Action website, you can order a barreled action, as this is. The barrel is done by Heller Arms out of Oregon, and that includes the muzzle brake. And they also do various fluting patterns. This is one that they had in stock and they gave to me, but you can order different types of fluting. You can, of course, order your action, and you have multiple different kinds of calibers. The bolt is a kind of hybrid between a bunch of different systems. Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly what style bolt they're kind of taking inspiration from. You can also change out the bolt head to whatever caliber, and it uses Savage pre-fit barrels, so you can, if you have the tools, swap out the barrels and the head of the bolt and get a different caliber in an okay amount of time, right? You're not going to hot swap it on the range, but it's something you could easily do in your garage before a match or whatever. So that's pretty cool. Now, the major problems have to do with the action. The barrel was great. The muzzle brake was actually really nice, but we'll get more into that later. The main problems are the action. So I gave Pristine Actions a call to clarify all of this, and I will relay what they told me, as well as show what is on their website right now. Number one is the tang. Now, this tang, in order to fit into the Cadex Light Strike tactical chassis, had to be cut down. Now, why is that? Well, according to Pristine, on the call they gave me, they beefed up the tang of a normal Remington 700. So this is what a normal pattern would look like. The Pristine default one is slightly wider and slightly longer and a bit more beefed up. The reason they said is because they wanted to give some more rigidity to the screws. Sure, okay. But that means that this action will only fit into chassis where the tang rests on top of something. If, like in a Cadex chassis, where the tang sits slightly indented into it, I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are a few others that do it like this. It will not fit, and it will have to be milled out into a normal Remington 700 pattern, which this was. Also, the Cerakote job that you see here and all of the, like this milling and the other stuff we'll get to, was done by Calgary Shooting Center. They did a fantastic job. None of this is on them, so just want to shout them out because they did a really good job. Now, I don't have much of a problem with taking this approach, as long as they are very clear about this on their website. Except they're not. On their website, when you look, it says it will fit in all Remington chassis and stocks, and it will fit in most aftermarket chassis and stocks, and then a little asterisk saying to contact customer service. Except what I explained to you is not that difficult to say. They could simply just say, if it has to be bedded into something, it will probably not work. They can just put that on the website instead of having to contact someone about it. Not to mention, in my emails with them when I was ordering, I very specifically said I will be putting this in a different chassis. They never asked what chassis it was, and they never sought to clarify that this will work with it. Now, I will say, it is my fault. I did not give them the name of the chassis. But the fact that their website just says it could have problems with any chassis, that should have been a moment where they say, okay, look, we should clarify this real quick. Now, having said that, this is not the end of the world. This obviously can be done by a gunsmith. It might cost you a bit extra to get this work done, but if there is a chassis that has, it slightly indented, it can be made to fit. So it's not the end of the world. And in my opinion, if that was the only problem, I would say it is 100% worth the extra milling because the action really is that great otherwise. However, there's one other major problem, and the thing that, to be quite frank, pissed me off a little bit. That has to do with the footprint of the rail specifically. Now, on their website, and I have pictures up on screen because I asked them if they could change it. We'll see if they follow through with it, but this is as it is when I ordered and as it is as if I'm recording. They said they made a custom rail made specifically for this action. And they gave the screw size, so that's good. But nowhere does it say that the footprint of the screw is completely different. This is a proprietary footprint. If you want to go with any other rail, aftermarket rail that is not from Pristine, or any other chassis where, like the Cadex has a top rail on top, it will not fit. It straight up is not going to fit unless you drilled and tapped and then maybe messed with the rail circumference, because the actual shape of this is slightly off of a normal Remington 700 in order to accommodate this rail. Now, in my opinion, that's not good enough, because if I just missed it, okay, you might be able to blame me. But all of the guys at the Calgary Shooting Center, the gunsmiths, whose entire job is to make all of this stuff work and to know all of these little things when building rifles, they could not figure it out because on their website, it was not clear enough. And when they went to place it into here, they realized, oh, we can't. So, since it was not just me, it was literal professionals whose job it is to deal with this kind of stuff who could not figure it out. This to me speaks to a bigger problem. So, if you're watching this now, thinking of buying one of these actions, I will say, genuinely seriously consider buying one after you watch the rest of the review if it interests you. But if you are planning to put this in a Cadex chassis, or any other closed-top chassis of any kind, or if you have a rail that you really want to use that's not from Pristine, do not buy this rifle, do not buy this barreled action. It will not work, and you will be disappointed. So I hope that they update their website and they mention the footprint specifically so that this does not occur in the future. I really hope they do that. If they don't, well, at least there's this video resource, and I will also be posting this video link to Reddit, so there will be some information there as well. Hopefully, if someone is looking at buying one of these, they will find this information somehow. So with that said, let us talk about the rest of the rifle, and if it were to be used in an open top system, how good is it? Well, it is outstanding in every single way. This action is the smoothest action I have ever felt, and it's not even close. The reason for that is not the travel. So let's take a look at the action. This is a very smooth bolt. It is incredibly smooth. There's even a YouTube short of Pristine at a trade show where they close the bolt, fully close the bolt with just air. They air racked a bolt action rifle. So that's really cool. That's how smooth it is. But the secret sauce that made it happen has to do with the locking and unlocking part of the bolt cycle. They used some ball bearings, if I remember correctly, inside here, and that makes it unbelievably smooth. If you use any other bolt action rifle, as I'm sure many of you have, you will know when you're after taking a shot, when you pull up on the bolt, there's always a couple steps, at least one, normally two, where it's like one cock, two up, and then you can pull out. This doesn't have it. It is one continuous smooth pull up. It is amazing to use. It is so nice. The throw itself is 90 degrees, which some people will like that, some people don't. I'm perfectly fine with a 90-degree bolt throw. It feels more natural than some of the shorter bolt throws. That's just a personal thing, but I really like it. It feels really, really nice. Now, in terms of triggers, it takes regular Remington 700 style triggers. This is just a Cadex, or sorry, not Cadex, a TriggerTech trigger. it will take any normal Remington 700 style trigger, and it is just the normal trigger. You have your bolt release on the left side, and it is also a very nice bolt release. It is super light and super easy to actuate, so underrated part of it that's really cool. Now, very quickly on the barrel, this barrel is super well made. It is pretty heavy, but the fluting does help, and it looks so amazing. Just wow, especially with the Cerakote. These come from the factory essentially, chromed. Not chromed, but it's stainless steel. And it looks good, but man, in black, this just pops. It is super nice. I think Pristine will Cerakote them for you, but it's up to you if you want to do that or if you want to go with a local business. It can be done, and it looks really great. This muzzle brake that comes with it, this comes, I believe it is a Heller Arms muzzle brake as well. It comes attached to the barrel. It's a really unique system. I haven't seen this before, where there are two threads. There's the thread that this goes on, and then there's the thread that the muzzle brake goes on. They act as one piece. It's kind of like, instead of using a crush washer, when you use one of those nuts and you counter screw them together, it's kind of like that, but all in one piece. It's a really intuitive system. I'd love to see this kind of tightening of muzzle brakes on a bunch of other guns, because dang, it works really well. So that's pretty cool. And the infamous rail. This rail slightly cut because CSC tried to make it work in the CADX chassis. It's not a big deal. They did actually a really good job. It looks like it would come like that from factory, right? Either way, the rail is really nice. It has a extra locking lug on the bottom underneath the rail to make sure that it won't move even with the screws. So it's a good rail. Again, just communication problems and website presentation, as mentioned before. Other than that, it's a good rail. And if you wanted the 30 MOA, like I mentioned earlier, you can buy a 30 MOA version. Now, in terms of accuracy testing, I didn't get to do exactly what I wanted to do with this, because I was going to do full accuracy testing in the CADX chassis, which is sadly no longer possible. I did do a few accuracy tests when it was in the Magpul Hunter chassis, which is what I use kind of just to break it in, so to speak, just to try and see how it feels. And I'm glad I did that, because now I can review it. From what I remember, accuracy was pretty good. I didn't have all of the perfect ammo. This is a 1 in 7 twist, so it will like heavier bullets, and I didn't bring out the full complement of ammo, but I wouldn't have worries with the accuracy of the barrel from my testing. And of course, if you wanted a specific barrel for your specific accuracy purposes, then you could just use any Savage prefit barrel. And it should be mentioned, the action itself is, I believe, $1,250 to $1,350 Canadian dollars. The barreled action on top of it is somewhere in the $2,100 to $2,200 Canadian dollar range, which is really competitive, because you can get some much more expensive actions that really don't have much of an improvement on this other than compatibility with some chassis. But that leads me to, who is this for? If you're using an open top chassis, this is an outstanding upgrade to a standard Remington 700 footprint or Bergara footprint rifle. The smoothness of this bolt, I really can't overstate how amazing it feels and how amazing it is to shoot. The only thing you have to watch out for is to make sure that the tang will fit in it, and even if it doesn't, a local gunsmith should be able to make it work without compromising anything. I would recommend a Cerakote on this just because I think it looks super nice. This is a fantastic rifle for hunting, for competition, or for just range use. If you want a more premium, but not, super high-end rifle, this is perfect. Dare I say, a sweet spot in price where, yes, it's definitely more expensive than, say, a Tikka Ace or than a Sig Cross or, I could go on and on and on. But you are legitimately getting a super amazing bolt system. It is unique, and it is worth the price premium over those production guns. On the other side of the coin, if you want a barreled action or an action on its own from a different custom action manufacturer, you're probably going to be paying a lot more, closer to the 2,000 to 2,500 Canadian dollar range. And a reminder that the action itself is like $1,250 to $1,350. With the barreled action, it is cheaper than a lot of just the action alone actions. So it is really good value for those open top chassis / stock systems. So in competition, you're probably going to want a heavier profile barrel like this, and they can offer that to you. If you want it for hunting, if you want to put a slim profile barrel on this, make sure to keep that weight down in a lightened stock or chassis system. This would be amazing for hunting. It's not necessary, like you can hunt with, you know, a $400 gun, but you know, some people want to get something a little bit nicer. This is something that's a little bit nicer. And of course, range use. If you, like me, were just wanting to buy one of these because you want to have something really cool. I don't do that with a lot of my guns. I sell most of the stuff I review, but for me, this one was supposed to be a keeper. Sadly, it won't be because of the issues, but it is super cool. And I don't think anyone who is buying this, again, for an open top system, will be disappointed because it's so unbelievably smooth and so fun to shoot. I can't stress that enough. It is genuinely addictive to shoot. Every time you pull the trigger and you cycle the bolt, you're like, I want to do it again. It really gets the dopamine going on that. So that is it for this video. I hope Pristine listens and at some point in the near future updates their website to specifically include the footprint issue. If not, well, like I said at the beginning of the video, there's this video as a resource and Reddit as well. Still, they made a really cool system and I applaud them for that. More videos are coming out soon, more bolt actions, more shotguns, so keep an eye out for those. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.